What's up, YouTube? It's your boy Nash here. Welcome back to the channel, and welcome to another episode of Yu-Gi-Oh's Biggest Issue. This week's episode is going to be a little bit different. This is just based on my personal opinion on this matter, but I'm going to be talking about a question that I'm sure a lot of people have been asking, and the question is this. Are the V-Jump promos actually playable in today's Yu-Gi-Oh? That is the big question that everybody wants to, that I'm sure you guys are curious to know. So you guys know, over the last couple of years, I've talked about a lot of the different V-Jump promos. Excuse me, that have been released. Cards such as the five jump promos that we had seen in Battles of Legend Armageddon. If you guys remember the five, then you will know. Cards such as the new Lady of Lament. I just talked about that, just a couple weeks ago or something like that. You know, that card as well. It's a matter of whether or not these cards are good or not. So when you look at a card like the cards that were from what was it, Battles of Legend Armageddon. You look at the five cards from them, such as obviously Darkness Metal, the Dragon of Dark Steel. You look at Chaos Emperor, the Dragon of Armageddon. You look at Dark Armed as well. What was it? Dark Armed, the Dragon of Annihilation, and then Judgement. I think Judgement. Yeah. Is it? Yeah. Judgement, the Dragon of Heaven. You look at these cards and you say to yourself, you know what? These cards are good. These cards are good. But once you play them in the decks, you ask yourself, is it really worth running? Take Darkness Metal for example. You look at a card like that and you say, okay, you know what? It seems pretty decent. But once you start playing it, you realize it's okay. So I'll read off its effect. You can target one of your monsters that is banished or in your graveyard, special summon to your zone this card points to in defense, but its effects are negated. Also, you cannot special summon link monsters for the rest of the turn, and the summon monster is placed on the bottom of the deck when it leaves the field. You can only use this effect once per turn. So it acts as a different dimension reincarnation, in which if you're banishing cards, in a Red Eyes deck or in a Blue Eyes deck or something, that's actually pretty good. That's pretty good. You look at Judgement. Hang on, guys. You look at Judgement, the Dragon of Heaven, and you say, it's pretty decent. If you synchro summon this card, all materials must be the same attribute. So you would literally need to run this in Lightsworn. So it says that it's generic, but is it really? Is it really generic? That is the question that people ask. Are these cards truly generic? No, they are not generic. You would need to run them in in the decks that they are initially supposed to be in, such as, Darkness Metal is supposed to be with Red Eyes. This card, Judgement, the Dragon of Heaven, is supposed to be with Light Swarms. Dark Arm, it's supposed to be with dark-based decks such as Red Eyes or even Dark Magician for that matter. You look at Chaos Emperor, the Dragon of Armageddon, and Trishula, the Dragon of Icy Imprisonment. They have to be with certain decks. Trishula has to be specifically with Ice Barriers, because even though it says Ice Barrier at the end of their name, they've got different names at the beginning, so it has to be with Ice Barriers. These new V-Jump promos that I'm gonna talk about, they've been released in the value book EX2, which I believe I talked about on the channel not too long ago, and I'm gonna read off their effects and give you guys my thoughts on them and whether or not they're good. So first up, we have Motor Violence. Yeah, that's the actual name of the card, funny enough. It's a 6-star Dark Machine with 2100 attack and 1200 attack, 1200 defense. And both of its effects are once per turn. The first effect reads, if this card or another machine is normal or special summon to your field, you can make the summon monster or monsters gain attack equal to half its original defense. Also, its battle position cannot be changed. These effects last until the end of the opponent's turn. Second effect reads, if this tribute summon card is sent to the grave, you can special summon 2 engine tokens, which are 1-star Dark Machine with 200 attack and defense and attack position. So, a card like this, it's not too bad. It seems decent. The only downside, one card, Imper. Another card, Effect Veiler. Another card would be one of the Ghost Sister hand traps, which I believe it's Ghost Mortar? I'll have to take a look. Let's see. Yes. Yeah, Ghost Mortar, or even Ghost Ogre can also be one as well. Yeah. So Ghost Mortar, Ghost Ogre, those are the cards that could just stop the effect from triggering. Yes, it does. Yes, it does give you a token. The only downside is the fact that the token is extremely spammable. It is extremely spammable. You spam your board with tokens. Boom, Link Monster right off the bat. That's like the only problem that players have with today's Yu-Gi-Oh! Is the fact that there are cards that have token effects that allow you to spam your board with tokens, allowing you to go into a Link Monster such as IP, such as Link Karibo, which is actually another one, funny enough, that can actually utilize the tokens, actually, which is pretty insane. So again, my thoughts on this one card in particular, it's decent. It's not too bad. Next up, we have vodus, which is exactly the name, vodus. It's a 4-star Dark Fiend with 1700 attack and 1900 defense, and it has 2 effects. First effect reads, when this card is normal summon, you can excavate the top 3 cards of your deck, and if you do, banish 1 excavated monster to add one other monster with the same name from among the excavated cards or your deck to your hand to shuffle the rest back into the deck. So it acts as like a pot of duality of sorts, which is actually not too bad. I have to admit. Second effect reads, once per turn during the end phase, if this card is in your grave because it was sent there this turn, after being normal summon or set, you can activate the top 3 cards of your deck, and if you do, place them on top of the deck in any order. So not only is this a part of duality, but it's also a card advance as well, giving you sort of an advantage over your opponent. So this card actually is pretty good. I will admit, this card is really, really good. Being able to not only manipulate your hand, but also manipulate your next 3 draws is really good, because then you'll be able to you'll be able to combo off that way and be able to just spam your board with a bunch of monsters from the extra deck. Have about, we'll say, about what, 5 negates, 6 negates on board, 3 interruptions, on board and in hand, plus in graveyard. That's actually pretty good. I have to admit, that's actually a pretty good one. And then the last one, we have Moeller. Moeller? Yeah, Moeller, which is a 3-star Dark Fiend with 1,000 attack and 1,200 defense, and it has 2 effects. First effect reads, when this card is normal summon, you can target one face-up monster your opponent controls. It gains attack equal to its original attack. During the end phase of the next turn, destroy that monster, and if you do, your opponent takes damage equal to half its original attack. So, with that effect, it's burn. Not burn damage. It's effect damage. You're dealing a decent amount of damage to your opponent. That dog needs to shut up. That dog needs to shut up. Anyway, you're dealing a pretty decent amount of damage to your opponent, but it all depends on what the monster is. If the monster has, let's say 5,000 attack, your opponent gets dealt 2,500, which is not too bad. If the monster had, let's say, 8,000, just as an example, which not sure if that'd be possible, your opponent would take 4,000 damage. Or if the monster in question was let's say Numeronius, and it had 10 and it got destroyed because it had 10,000 attack, your opponent would be taking 5,000 damage right off the bat, which is a pretty decent amount of damage. But you want to try and just take their life points out in one go. So you would wait with a card like this. You would have to wait until potentially Numeronia, or so you think, because I don't think you can actually defeat it with card effects. Let me take a look at the card, because I was actually running the card in let's see. Is the card was supposed by the effects of Numeronius. It gains 100,000 attack during your opponent's turn only. Apply the following effects. Monsters your opponent controls must attack this card if able. Okay, so basically it can easily be destroyed off of the effects of this card, which is pretty good. I must admit, I have to admit, it's pretty good. So basically, with Numeronia, your opponent would get dealt a pretty decent amount of damage if the monster was normal summoned during your opponent's turn. If this monster was summoned during not your opponent's turn, during your turn, Numeronia would get destroyed. They would lose all their life points in one go, because they would have to take 50,000 damage, which is more than enough to wipe their life points out per game, which is insane. So these cards and also too, there's actually a second effect. Of Moeller. The second effect reads, at the start of your opponent's battle phase, you contribute this normal summon card This normal summon or set card, your opponent's monsters cannot attack directly this turn. Okay, so it basically protects you from being attacked directly. So, all in all, motor violence not too bad. I mean, token spam is pretty decent. Vodus, Pot of Duality, card advance, not too bad. This one, Moeller, it's decent. Dealing your opponent damage is pretty decent, but I want to talk about another card that was actually just released in as a jump promo. I actually want to go to it really quickly, just to show you guys how bad the card is. And that card is Chronicle Sorceress. So it basically acts as a Fool's Burial. I'm gonna be honest, this card could have been released years ago, back when we didn't have any way to send a Blue Eyes or a Dark Magician to the graveyard, but nowadays we have ways to send them to the graveyard off of the effects of a card like, say, Magician's Souls. Cards like Magic Karibo is another one that allows you to just resummon, Dark Magician or a Dark Magician or Dark Magician Girl from your hand, from your deck or graveyard, which is pretty insane. These cards basically help you get into Dark Magician when it's in your graveyard. And with a card like Eternal Soul is just is an absolute house. So the question is Chronicle Sorceress really that good? No, it's not, because we have so many other ways to send Dark Magician or Blue Eyes White Dragon to the graveyard. There's no need for this card. So again, it all pretty much depends. So the question does become, should we use V-Jump promos in today's modern Yu-Gi-Oh decks? It's basically a double-edged sword. It's either you can or you can't. With certain cards, yes, because they're pretty, the effects are good. But when you look at a card like Chronicle Sorceress, is it really that good? No, because as I said before, you have so many ways to send a Blue Eyes White Dragon or a Dark Magician to your graveyard. There's no need for a card like Chronicle Sorceress in those two decks, which I actually have a profile for both ready to go. I actually had to do a little bit of an updating, nothing too crazy on the main extra or the side. Just had to do a bit of a revamp, if you will, sort of, with the Dark Magician deck. The Blue Eyes deck, I had to do quite the revamp on this deck. I had to make it a 45 build rather than a 51. Rather than I think it was like 46, like a 51 deck or something like that. I don't remember how many cards I had in the last build, but I made it so it was a little more consistent, if you will. So I do have those deck profiles ready to go. I'm gonna be doing them sometime in the next couple weeks. So make sure you guys stay tuned for that. But again, the question does become, are the V-Jump promos really that good? Well, as I said, it's a double-edged sword. It's pretty much anybody's opinion. My honest opinion, it's a double-edged sword. It's a scale. It could be a yes or a no. It all just depends. But that brings me to the question of the day. What are your guys' thoughts on this matter? Alright, you know what? I have a better idea. I've got a better question. What kind of support card do you guys want to see as a future V-Jump promo? If the question makes sense, let me know in the comments below. And that will do it for today's video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you did, make sure you guys smash the thumbs up button. If you guys are new to the channel and you guys want to see more episodes of Yu-Gi-Oh's Biggest Issue, which get posted every Friday, make sure you guys subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell so you guys do not miss out on any new content that comes your way. And be sure to follow me on Twitter and on Instagram. All the links will be in the description below. And if you guys have any fan mail you guys want to send me and you guys want me to open it up on the channel, all the info will be in the description as well. And on that, this is your boy Nash, signing out.